The Second World War, of course, Burma is the big Gurkha campaign in the Second World War. Put this one up because that's Mad Mike Calvert on the left, who was the brigade commander of one of the Chindit columns. The chap on the right is Major Jimmy Lumley, father of Joanna Lumley, actress and campaigner. His beard's looking a bit scruffy. But of course, it wasn't just in Burma that Gurkhas served. They served in Italy and North Africa, etc. as well. Old Gurkhas often say to me, why weren't we at Normandy? Why weren't we on D-Day? Was it prejudice? I said, no, there weren't any Gurkha battalions to go to Normandy. They were all tied up in Italy or in the Far East. But they fought in most of our theatres. One of the things they were very good at in Italy, as you know, was a very difficult campaign. Again, very difficult terrain because you're having to go across the grain as opposed to along the grain. And very often you weren't really sure where the front line was. You weren't quite sure where the enemy was and where you were. Gurkhas, being countrymen who live halfway up the Himalayas, are very good at night. They're not afraid of the dark. They can move around at the night. They understand ground. And what they were very good at was going out sneaky beaky at night, finding a German patrol and killing them. Usually kill all but one. You leave one awake so he can go back and tell his chums and make them even more frightened. But somebody said to them, but how do you tell? I mean, this is at night. How do you tell who are British and who are Germans? Ah, very simple, they said. The Germans lace their boots like this, and the British lace their boots like that. So suddenly in the whole of Italy, people who thought they'd sort of cock a snook at the system by lacing their boots the wrong way, immediately start lacing their boots the correct way. And they would go along at night and feel the laces. And if the laces were crossed, and if the laces were like this, you were okay. Then, of course, after the war, Malaya and Borneo, both campaigns, which were very much, I mean, there were British troops there as well, British battalions would do one tour in Malaya or Borneo, and that would be it. Gurkha battalions, of course, went back again and again and again. And people from that think, well, Gurkhas are jungle soldiers, aren't they? Well, they're only jungle soldiers because they're trained to be jungle soldiers. They don't live in the jungle. They live halfway up the Himalayas. There is jungle in Nepal, right down on the south, the top of the plain of Bengal, but nobody actually lives there. They're jungle soldiers because they're trained to be jungle soldiers. And actually, they are capable of being trained for just about anything. The Falklands, of course, one Gurkha battalion, they were terribly disappointed when they came back, the 7th Gurkhas. A lot of them I talked to, and they said, Saab, every time we got near them, they ran away. And the reason they ran away was the Argentines were victims of their own propaganda. They said in the newspapers, the British are deploying Gurkhas. Gurkhas, when they run out of rations, eat their own dead. They do not take prisoners, they kill them, and they eat them. That is actually not true. But the Argentines thought it was. And as the commanding officer of that battalion, David Morgan, said, if your reputation will do the work for you, well and good, it saves you casualties. And actually, Gurkha casualties in the Falklands were very, very light. Bosnia, they were particularly good at Bosnia. They became really, very well known in Bosnia by being able to sniff out arms caches. For some reason, they could work out where people would hide weapons. And they were jolly good at that. Kosovo, of course, they were the lead battalion into Kosovo when it was thought that the Serbs would fight. Actually, they didn't, as it happened. Perhaps if it hadn't been Gurkhas, they might have done, but they didn't. East Timor, where they deployed under command of the Australians, and of course, Sierra Leone, where the parachute company, Gurkha Parachute Company, was deployed. Iraq War, the fighting bit, this chap's a sniper. Who was a recruit of mine, and I saw him sometime after the war fighting bit, and I said, what are you doing now? He said, Saab, I am a sniper, and I am a Lance Corporal. Here's my sniper's badge. And I said, so what were you doing? And you'll remember that during the war fighting bit of Iraq, just before the British went into Basra, there was a halt to allow the Iraqi army to think better, also because we didn't actually want to get involved in fighting in built-up areas, which is always difficult. And all the snipers were taken out, and they were put in hides. They were put in buildings, houses, little hills, and given the usual orders that all snipers are told, kill signalers, kill officers. So anybody with a radio antenna, kill them. Officer, kill them. The reason for that, of course, is if you can destroy your enemy's command and control system, then instead of being an organized army, it simply becomes an armed rabble and a lot easier to deal with. Now, modern sniper's rifle, you will kill a man at a mile. Not only will you kill him, but you can count the spots on his face as you do it. Which is why when you select a sniper, you just don't select a good shot. Obviously, he's got to be a good shot, but there's far more to it than that. Anybody will kill in hot blood. Anybody. When the adrenaline's up, he'll kill. Not everybody will kill in cold blood. So for a sniper, you need somebody who will wait hour after hour until he gets the target and will then quite cold-bloodedly kill him. So I said to this lad, but by the time you did that, the Iraqi army had thrown away its uniforms. They were all in civilian clothes. You were actually fighting the Mujahideen. How did you know who were the officers? And he said, very simple, Saab. Anybody with a mobile phone waving his arms about, I shot him. So there are going to be an awful lot of O2 contracts in Basra that won't be met.